Hey there, it's Regina, and I'm gonna tell you a story. Well, just part of it. You might know this play about Romeo and Juliet written by William Shakespeare, right? Well, just a part of it, just in a different way. I'm gonna tell you about Act 2. This time, we Snapchatted from different points the characters in the play and just put it together in our story. You can add us by the username Romeo and Juliet Play. But just to make it briefly, I'll show you now. Everything in this act starts with Benvolio and Mercutio trying to cheer up Romeo to go out, to finally get over this girl Rosaline, who's been causing Romeo a deep and wide depression. That afternoon, they hear about a fest at the Capulets, and this to convince Romeo just by knowing his love would be there. And, of course, by his love, I mean Rosaline. That night, not knowing at all he'd meet the true love of his life, of course, Juliet, he decides to dance with this beautiful girl he saw since the first moment. We all know who this is. Which he falls in love since the very first moment. Well, Juliet is Capulet, and just for the record, Montagues and Capulets are the worst enemies. So, if Romeo it's a Montague and Juliet it's a Capulet, of course they're enemies. Well, they're families. Well, these crazy lovers messed a little bit. They kissed the first day they met. Duh. But let's continue. That night, after the fest, starting with Mercutio and Benvolio looking for Romeo, this kiddo couldn't live without saying his love one more time. And Juliet went to her balcony to speak for herself her own thoughts. Kind of crazy, right? Just to make things better, Romeo hears every word she said about him and, well, decided to take a Snapchat to put it to his story about how beautiful she looked in there. After a deep talk about how great their love was, the nurse called it like 1,000 times Juliet. Just joking, she just called 3. Well, she was pretty much getting grounded. But they're just like the perfect couple in there, just like movies. Moving on, and skipping the drama, somehow they arranged their marriage. Speaking for myself, they totally lost their minds by deciding it, but they did. Juliet said that if he wanted to marry her, to send word the next day with the nurse. Well, going back to Romeo, he never came back home. And never slept, actually. Well, he went with Friar Lawrence, the priest in Verona, to tell him he had a wonderful night. The first impression, of course, by hearing that, is that Romeo had sex with Rosaline. Because, as we know, he was weeping like 1 or 2 days ago for her. But after telling him the story about Juliet and how in love he was with her, he calmed down. And right after, he threw the bomb. He said it. He asked if he'd marry them. And after thinking, reasoning about the consequences of the act, he finally agreed. Well, they decided to marry that afternoon. Friar Lawrence stayed preparing everything at church, and Romeo finally, after a long morning, he got home. He told everything to Benvolio and Mercutio, who were thinking about how much Romeo was in love with this girl Juliet. Well, as I was saying, they thought he never came back just because he was doing all their stuff and not exactly sleeping. But Romeo cleared up things, and Mercutio ain't easy at all, so she complicated things and said he was using her. After clearing everything, thanks to Benvolio, the peacemaker, thank God, they made the super peace step, and, well, everything went okay. Back to the Capulets, as it was said. The nurse got early to the Montagues and told her to prepare herself to marry him that evening. Although the nurse didn't like that. Romeo was good looking and had good manners. Well, sort of. But just thought he wasn't enough for her. When she came back, Nurse made such a drama, making Juliet go nuts, telling her she was exhausted and to give her a minute. After the long desperation, pressure, asking, and waiting, she finally gave the news. She was getting married. Finally, the hour came, and Snapchatters couldn't miss this. They pictured everything. I mean, look at the beautiful bride with the ring Romeo gave her. It was awesome. It was also so quickly and desperate. Oh, happy couple. So happy right now. Don't know what's happening next. I mean, this is it. But Romeo and Juliet, don't you think they're like approaching everything? Just for the record, this video was adapted for Villarrica students. So I hope you liked it. See you in the next act. Bye.
Change my answering machine now that I'm alone, 'cause right now it says that we can't come to the phone, and I know it makes no sense.
Soñamos juntos de querernos siempre, me duele ese frío noviembre cuando las hojas caen, amor y por...
It's been months, and for some reason I just can't get over, and I'm strong.